Born in 1911, Wladyslaw Szpilman studied piano at the Warsaw Conservatory and at the Berlin Academy of Arts with Arthur Schnabel, as well as composition with Franz Schreker. On September 23, 1939, he was playing Frédéric Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor live on the Polish radio when a German bomb destroyed the Warsaw power station and the radio went off the air. But incredibly, Szpilman survived the war and the Warsaw Ghetto. After the war, Szpilman wrote about his experiences, more for himself than for any audience, to enable him to work through his shattering trauma. Suppressed by the communist authorities in Poland, this gripping and vivid memoir first got published in Germany and America in 1999 as The Pianist, and attracted the attention of the famous director Roman Polanski. Szpilman's son, Andrzej, remembers when Polanski and his father met for the first time.
As soon as Polanski knew that he plans to do the movie on the life story of my father, he asked me to visit my father in Warsaw. So he came over to drink a tea. And they talked for a few hours, but they didn't even talk about the movie particularly. They talked about everything, but not about the movie. So my father knew very well that when this director is doing this movie, there's really no one better for it. He is mostly legitimate to make this movie because of his past. He was a child in Krakow ghetto. He remembers the beginning of the war. He remembered time after the war. He left Poland in the 60s, so he knows very well all the relations, and he understands the needness of respect for the story.
Wladyslaw Szpilman's first impression of Polanski proved to be right, as he, in the film The Pianist, vividly and movingly depicted life in the Warsaw Ghetto during the Second World War, with both shocking brutality and compassion, in scenes ranging from street executions and deportations by the Nazis to attempts at resistance by the Jewish inhabitants. The film won the top prize at this year's Cannes Festival and is now being shown all over Europe with rave reviews. The main character, the pianist Wladyslaw Szpilman, is played by Adrian Brody, who has to perform in the Café Sztuka in Warsaw in order to survive. One of the songs Szpilman composed back then in 1940 was Fall in Love Again. It's sung here by Wendy Lands on a new CD which has just been released in November.
Tell me that I'm the only one. Promise forever, just for fun. I think it's time we fall in love again.
Fall in Love Again is just one of the more than 500 songs written by Wladyslaw Szpilman. These show yet another side of the multi-talented Szpilman, who also composed classical works for orchestra and music for the cinema. His son Andrzej describes his father's musical versatility.
My father was studying in Berlin in the 30s by the great teachers, piano by Leonid Kreutzer and Arthur Schnabel, Alexander Michałowski, and the composition by Schrattenholz and Schreker, Franz Schreker. And what happens? He writes a lot of popular music. He plays piano, classical music and jazz, and also pop music. He writes classical music and movies, music for the movies, before the war. And he becomes very popular. And what's happened? He was playing in the Warsaw Ghetto also music for his life. And he was writing songs, and these songs he wrote became great hits after the war.
I think it's time we fall in love again. I think it's time we fall in love again.
Towards the end of the film, The Pianist, Szpilman is living as a recluse in an abandoned attic in Warsaw, barely surviving on scraps of food, when he's discovered by a German Wehrmacht officer, Wilhelm Hosenfeld, who's living in the same house. Szpilman's first reaction is to fear for his life, but Hosenfeld turns out to be a music lover and leads Szpilman to an out-of-tune piano on which he begins to play Chopin. That performance of Frédéric Chopin's C-sharp minor nocturne, played by Wladyslaw Szpilman, is one of the many recordings and memories of his father that his son Andrei has in his private archive, and which were a valuable source of information and background for director Roman Polanski. And Andrei says that he's really pleased with the success of the film The Pianist.
The first screening was really at the Cannes Film Festival, where after the movie was presented, all the audience, it was about, or more, even more than 3,000 people, give a standing ovation to Roman Polanski for about 20 minutes. And so, when they do this kind of applause, I thought, is anything like a prize even necessary for this movie? Then came the premiere in Warsaw, because it was wish of Polanski just to show it first to the Polish audience. It was the place of his origin. Again, standing ovation for the movie. So it's a great, great, great success in Poland.
Roman Polanski's film, The Pianist, based on Szpilman's extraordinary career and survival, is a testament, as his son Andrei says, to the power of music, the courage to stand against evil, the will to live, and the human spirit.